welcome back to Boring Reviews. Nick here.
Jodi there.
And Jodi and I are excited for another...
Sarah Millican.
And Sarah Millican is one of our favorites. We reacted to maybe close to 8 or 9 of these bad boys so far. If you want to see others, check them out on the channel. We are checking out the poem story.
Wow, way to just say it. As the ELA teacher, the English teacher, the reading and writing teacher,
Just
the language teacher, I thought you would let me say the poem story.
Which is related to poetry, which is one of the 3 types of writing. You got prose, poetry, and drama. You're welcome. And this reminds me of the very first one we did with that email from her bully friend, her bully. This has nothing to do with the bully story, but we're going to go ahead and check this one out, or maybe it does. If you like our reaction anyway, please don't forget to
like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can be aware of our next uploaded video.
Here we go.
Now let me tell you a story now, if I may. Most comedians finish work at sort of 10:30, 11, and invariably will drive home wherever possible. So getting in at maybe 12 or 1 or 2. Me personally, when I get home, in order to get the adrenaline out of my system so I can sleep at all, I will do one of 2 things. I'm not a drinker, so I'll either have a bath or I'll watch a bit of telly. And normally one of those 2 things will work. Every now and again, though, they don't work and I can't sleep at all. It's rare, I'm lucky like that, but it does happen. The last time it happened to any degree was February last year. I got in from work, I did the usual things, no success. I did the worst thing you can possibly do when you can't sleep, which is go on the internet, because it probably wakes you up, doesn't it? But I'd sort of abandoned the idea of sleep and I was happily clicking from website to website. Now 2:30 is a normal time for me to go to bed. When it starts to get to 3:30, I start to feel tired and I suppose just a bit lonely, I suppose, and a little bit like I'm the only person awake in the world. And I know that my tired brain does things that my rested brain would never allow. Now, if we go back to the beginning of the story, I mentioned that I got divorced. I got married the first time at 22 and divorced at 29. I suppose getting married at 22 is quite young, but I was very much swept off my feet. I think the main reason I said yes to going out with him in the first place was the fact that he wrote me a poem. Nobody had written me a poem before. Nobody has written me a poem since. I don't really know much about poetry, but I know that this was just lovely. He'd handwritten it. He gave it to me on a sheet of paper, and I read it, and I just fell.
I'm going to make a prediction that when she Googles it, she finds the poem, and he didn't write it.
He plagiarized
it. But we're going to find out.
That is a good guess.
I remember folding it really small and I put it in my purse. And every time I had like a shitty day at work, I'd get on the bus to go home and I'd get my poem out and I'd read it to myself.
Memorized.
And I think somebody feels this way about me, to have written this about me. I'm not having a shitty day anymore. Now, a little after 5 years, I lost it. To this day, I've no idea where it went, and I was distraught. It meant so much to me. But after a while, after I'd calmed down, I thought, I wonder if I've memorised it from all of those times of reading it to myself. So I got a sheet of paper and a pen, and sure enough, it all came out. And I folded it up small, and I put it back in my purse where it belonged. Now, if we scoot ahead to February last year, it's 3:30 a.m. I'm tired, and I'm on the internet. And I just thought, we've been divorced 9 years. That was a lovely poem. I bet he's given it to somebody else. I bet it's on a blog. I bet some skinny 22-year-old fucking bitch has got it as a Facebook status. So I picked a line from it and I Googled it. And there were 305,000 examples of the poem. It wasn't my poem. It wasn't his poem. It was written by Samuel Coleridge. No wonder it was fucking good. But I felt sort of broken, like my heart had been broken all over again. I felt hurt and a little bit stupid. I didn't really know what to do with this new information. So I texted my fella on the off chance that he was still awake, and he was, thank God, and he rang and he said, "What's up?" And I told him the whole thing. And my fella's a very sensible man. And he had a little think, and he said, "Just because that was a lie doesn't mean the rest was a lie." And I thought, that's pretty good. So I hung up from him, but I still wasn't happy. It was still whirling around in my head. What was starting to happen that I didn't like was it was starting to colour my idea of my ex-husband. It was starting to make me think of him as a bad person. And he wasn't a bad person. We split up relatively amicably. he just stopped loving me, which is very sad and hard for me to understand, given the fact that I'm awesome.
I love that.
But that is sad.
I love that.
Good, I'm glad you agree. But it felt to me like he was a bowl of clear water with a drop of blue dye about to go in and colour the whole thing, and I didn't think that was fair on him. And I was thinking, I wonder if I can come up with another example of something similar. Somebody who is inherently good, but has done one bad thing, but you still think of them as a good person. And I racked my brains and I could think of no one. I did, however, think of an example of the opposite. Somebody who was inherently bad, but had done one good thing, but I still thought of them as a bad person. And that person was Margaret Thatcher. Now, I understand the concept of not speaking ill of the dead, but I also understand that I told this story for the first time while she was still alive. And coming from a mining background, I will not allow her to ruin my show. The way she ruined the lives of my dad and his friends. Now, one thing you might not know about Margaret Thatcher is that she was partly responsible for the invention of Mr. Whippy ice cream. She studied science at university. She was one of a team of scientists who invented the machine that puts the air through the ice cream to create Mr. Whippy ice cream. So for all of the atrocities that I believe she committed, Mr. Whippy ice cream's still pretty fucking nice, isn't it? But it felt to me very much like she was still a bowl of blue dye with a drop of clear water hovering above the surface. And I went to bed and I slept like a baby. And I woke up the next morning and I still felt okay. And I thought, I'm going to ring my dad. Now, my dad is an exceptional listener. My dad is my second port of call, always after my fella, if I have anything troubling me. And I told him the whole thing and he listened very quietly. And I said, so do you see how I've worked it out that none of us are 100% good or bad? We're all a mixture of the two. He said, yes, I can see what you've done. I said, did you know about the ice cream thing? He said, no, I didn't. I said, so how does that make you feel now? And he went quiet. It couldn't have been for minutes, it must have only been for seconds, but it felt like a long time. And he went, you really want to know how I feel? I said, I think it would help me, Dad. He went quiet again, and he went, you're not allowed Mr. Whippy anymore. In the space of about 6 hours, I'd lost my poem and Mr. Whippy for life. I didn't tell him that Osama bin Laden invented midget gems. He didn't. There's people over there going, did he? He didn't. He didn't. Hello, it's...
Okay, that was so different than what I was expecting. It was...
Absolutely, that was great.
It was great and sad all at the same time. Like, my heart goes for her on so many levels. I called the poem because in high school, a boy said he wrote me one. And as soon as I read it, I was like, that's a freaking Hoobastank song. And he's like, no, it's not. I was like, yes, it is.
The reason?
Yes. I was like, yes, it is. You can hear it on the radio. Go turn on the radio. So as soon as she said she was on the internet, he wrote a poem, I was like, oh, it's not. It's not. It's not.
That's a Hoobastank song.
Yes, because that's what, no offense, guys.
It's a song that wasn't played a million times.
But that's what, like, 14, 15-year-old boys do. Now, obviously, this was a guy that she had met when she was a little older than that, but still, my experience.
But think about all the happiness. Like, I'm not saying this was the right plan, but all the happiness it brought her.
I know.
But that would be really annoying and a betrayal. Yes. I don't know if I would go as far as, like, you know, she said she did. And I believe that she was pretty hurt by it. Oh. But at the same time, it's not my experience. It's not something that I just fell in love with. And probably was one of the reasons why she fell in love with him in the first place.
Well, I think that I would feel very betrayed because, one, she shares that he fell out of love with her, which means she still loved him.
Right.
So that's heartbreaking enough to realize
that's
that the person that you love no longer loves you, and it's like, what? What happened? But two, the fact that they were together for so long and he allowed her to think that he wrote it for her.
Why would he ever come clean? That. What's the advantage of coming clean?
I know, but for me, I would much rather you say, like, hey, Jodi, I'm so sorry, but I copied this. I know that you really like it, but I can see. As opposed to let me falsely believe that you wrote it for me. Like,
if anything else, I'd be like, remember that poem I wrote for you?
That
someone else wrote 100 years ago.
I would feel like such an idiot too. Like, anyway.
No, that's lame. I would never do that for any girl. Plagiarize a poem and call my own. But You think about it, there's a lot of poems out there that a lot of people don't read, so your chances of success are quite high. I do feel bad for her, but I thought that was an awesome and hilarious story. And the whole situation, one thing, because I just don't know, I didn't know Margaret Thatcher, at least maybe by her, maybe it's by certain political, people that affiliate with certain political parties, hate her guts. I didn't know she was hated. Like, I didn't think that she was beloved by everyone. Honestly, the only thing I know about Margaret Thatcher besides, she was a prime minister, what she looks like, but is the joke, again, Austin Powers, where he's trying not to get excited by a different woman. And he says, Margaret Thatcher on a cold day, Margaret Thatcher on a cold day, to try to calm himself down. But I don't know too much about her. I know her voice. I've heard a few of her speeches, but I can't tell you what they said.
I would say, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, different country. Sorry.
And I don't want to bring in like a whole comment section of hate, but just let me know, like, what are some of the things? It's like Winston Churchill, maybe not in England, but people outside of England, and not just the United States, but other countries. I've heard some interesting viewpoints, especially people from India, about Winston Churchill that I never knew those opinions were out there. So I'm just curious, what is the reason? I don't know about the mining thing. Let us know what you think about our reaction to this video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time.
Goodbye.